289,000 people came through the airport on July the 12th. And that's the highest number in a single day. If you think about it, how important is it for a country to have a good airport? We're not so much in the infrastructure management business, we're in the people business.
They say a great airport experience is one you hardly notice. No chaos, no queues, just smooth sailing from the moment you enter until you reach the gate. But what does it take to make that happen, especially when you're moving nearly 100 million people, passengers, a year? Well, our guest today knows exactly the pressure that it takes. We're joined by the CEO of Dubai Airports, Paul Griffiths. It's an absolute pleasure having you with us.
It's great to be here today. Thanks.
Paul, summer season, DXB is gearing up for its busiest season yet. What do things look like behind the scenes?
Well, actually, behind the scenes, this is a bit like a swan on a lake, right? Above the surface that everyone sees, everything is calm. Below the surface, everything is sort of a little bit frantic. But you see, the thing is, we've been serving that number of guests through the airport for quite a while now. So the teams are pretty used to handling that sort of volume. 289,000 people came through the airport on July the 12th, and that's the highest number in a single day. We regularly get 250,000 people through the airport a day. And I think the reason that we managed to make it look smooth is that we've recognized that unlike other airports, we're not so much in the infrastructure management business, we're in the people business, we're in the hospitality business. No matter how vast the numbers are, we want every single individual person to feel as though they're having a great time and the airport facilities are meeting their every need.
So when you're walking through the airport, when you're walking through the terminal, what are you looking for? What are you trying to see to ensure that things are running smoothly?
I have a pretty good level of sensitivity for detail, and I can sort of sense when things aren't quite going right. I mean,
what would indicate that?
I think the thing is, first of all, it's got to be spotlessly clean. I think the thing is that you do notice when you travel whether a building is presented in the right way. And we've got a fantastic cleaning team that goes through meticulously to make sure everything is fine. When I first arrived in Dubai, one of the first things I did is walk through with the head of our facility care services in the airport. And we literally walked for an entire morning looking at every single aspect of the facilities. And I was delighted that the actual cleaning standards were immaculate. And even though the infrastructure in some areas is not as new as it would need to be if we were looking at a brand new airport, nevertheless, the condition was always really good. So that's the first thing.
18 years ago.
18 years ago, that's
as
right.
Clean as it is today.
Indeed. And the age of the facility, if you keep it clean and up to standard and you've got good maintenance, it doesn't really matter about the age. It's the presentation for the customer that's important. The second thing, of course, is we are in a people business. We're a people business because we employ people to look after people. And I try and drill into every single employee, irrespective of whether they are on the front line or whether in the back office supporting people on the front line, that, you know, it's our guests that pay our wages. They are the most important people. So we have to keep them safe. We have to keep them busy and occupied. We have to push them through our frictionless airport in record time, just so that they have a great experience. I don't meet many people that say, do you know what? I'd like to spend more time at the airport, please. You know, that doesn't really happen unless they're aircraft and aviation geeks like myself. But I think the thing is, the most important thing is that you try and get into the heads of what people expect out of an airport experience, and then really follow that through by designing the processes and putting the training and development in and communicating with people exactly what that product needs to look like.
So when you're walking through, are you looking also at people's expressions? Are you looking at the staff? What's an indicator of people are happy?
Well, the first thing, of course, is I try and be a bit incognito so that people aren't putting on a special performance just because I'm walking through. And what I'm looking for is exactly that. Are people being treated with courtesy and respect? Are people happy? We went into quite a different relationship with our frontline staff after the pandemic, because what we did is we transferred a lot of staff to an external contractor who actually is motivated and remunerated based on customer satisfaction scores. And it was a bit of a groundbreaking move, but it's paid huge benefits. They're now responsible for all the training, hiring, development, the appearance, the deportments, the communication standards, and everyone really is working towards that common goal of delighting the customer. And it's paid off because we regularly get accolades from all sorts of different parts of the globe saying, the airport experience is one of the best in the world.
So one of the things that you often mention is giving a seamless experience of walking through touch-free or very tech-oriented. Any new tech that passengers can expect to see this summer when they're traveling?
Plenty of new tech, yes, absolutely. We're living in an incredibly exciting age where the technology to improve what we're trying to achieve isn't the problem anymore. You can think of almost any issue in an airport or any other environment for that matter, where technology could sort of help you a bit, but it couldn't get you the full way. Now, with AI coming and the maturity of a lot of the systems, the communication between systems is so much better that we can aggregate data, make better, smarter decisions, and actually provide a much more seamless level of service by eliminating any issues that may apply even before they've been noticed by anyone. So the technology to breeze people through the airport is really gathering momentum now. For example, the immigration service now is almost completely touchless, and you won't actually see in future where the immigration points are, because the camera systems now are so sophisticated they can actually recognize you from your facial recognition as you walk along the corridor. And if that's married up to your immigration data and all is well, you just keep going. So you won't even know when you've had a passport ID check, which is great.
And when could we expect something like that? When you're just walking through and facial recognition does everything, you've passed immigration without realizing it.
It's pretty much there now. We've got something called the Smart Tunnel, which isn't actually a tunnel. It's actually just a group of cameras that read your biometric footprint, if you like. And what we're trying to do now is integrate that into the infrastructure so you won't even see where those points are. Changes coming to security as well. The idea that you don't have to take your shoes off or liquids and laptops out of bags. The first of those new machines is already in and being trialed. And of course, with the molecular analysis that can be undertaken now of all the substances you've got in your bags or on your person, we can tell the difference between aspirin and paracetamol now. It's that detailed. And of course, if you think about it, instead of someone actually sitting in front of a screen and watching all these bags going through, actually AI analysis of the contents of people's hand luggage will be much quicker, won't need a break, won't need to go on holiday, will be faster. So we're hoping to get the hand baggage screening process to be much, much quicker for people as well. So that's going to speed up. Check-in and immigration, I think, is already starting to merge. In fact, most of the check-in we're trying to do now is going to be outside of the airport rather than within the airport. And within a few years, I think...
Outside of the airport.
Indeed, yes. So you'll be able to check in online at home. In a lot of places, you can already do that.
You can check in online, but you still have to come to the reception, have the printout of the boarding pass. You're eliminating that.
We are now. And in fact, a lot of airlines, in fact, most airlines now, you can download the boarding pass onto your phone. So you don't actually have to have a printed piece of paper. My next attack is baggage. I cannot believe in the 21st century, we're still asking people to go to a machine or a check-in desk. That long tag is printed. Then you have to peel off part A and stick part A to part B, and then find a way of attaching that to your bag. We shouldn't be doing that in the 21st century. Each bag, when it's produced, should come with a pre-printed either a QR code or some sort of identification, so you can find out where it is in any system at any time. And if we've got that, then you don't need to actually physically check in your bag every time. As long as you've got that bag registered to you in the airline system, which you can do at the time of booking.
So now you're talking about the production of the actual bag and just
I think so. That's
having its own identity that you can trace anywhere in the world.
A bit like with a car, you've got a VIN number which identifies the specific vehicle. We could have the same system with luggage so that every single bag that's produced has its own ID. And that is tracked then through every single system, whether it be an airline system or a hotel system. It would have huge advantages. And I really hope that that will be grasped by the luggage industry as the way forward.
And when you're talking about seamless travel, and you gave the example of not having to take your shoes off, which to me, that's one of my pet peeves. I mean, I really have to think, do I want to be barefoot? Do I want to wear socks? Just so that in case. But even if it's a seamless experience at DXB, there's, of course, an airport on the other side that you'll have to land or board from. And that's something you can't control.
Well, of course, the simple fact is that every journey has an origin and a destination. And although we might control one end of that particular journey, we can't control the others. However, I've said to every airport, look, we're quite, free and willing to share our ideas and our experience. And if they care to adopt the same technology to create a seamless journey for the customer, then obviously that would be excellent. But
no secrets.
No secrets, no. And the problem is, though, I don't think that a lot of airports are motivated in the same way we are here in Dubai, because, of course, Dubai has placed itself on the world stage by delivering excellent service, whether that's in hospitality or whether you jump in a taxi and the drivers are polite. Every single touch point, I think, in Dubai, there's an expectation that we will deliver beyond normal expectations. And we've certainly grasped that mantra at the airports, and we want that to be, if you think about it, how important is it for a country to have a good airport? It is the very first impression that you create of an entire country when you walk in to an airport for the first time. And it's the very last impression when you leave the country. So if it's a bad impression, it actually taints your whole idea of what the experience of that particular country is like. So I do not understand why there isn't more focus on creating great experiences to welcome people when they arrive and say, bon voyage when they leave.
No, absolutely. Especially if you're a tourist. If you're living somewhere, what can you do, right? That's the airport you're given. But as a tourist, that will tarnish your whole experience, your whole journey. So
I think that's right. But even for people living here, people travel here, I think, more often than they do when they live elsewhere. And that's part of the reason of living here, because the communications and logistics of the network that's available, 240 different cities available direct from DXB, and the list is growing the whole time. And because we've got that massive connectivity with 2/3 of the world's population within 4 hours of flying time of Dubai, and 2/3 within 8 hours, and 1/3 within 4 hours. It's a tremendous hub for commerce and for tourism. And I'm sure a lot of people live here because of the ease of traveling from Dubai to the rest of the world.
No, definitely. And let's be honest, it's very hot during the summer months. So travel now is especially heightened, although tourists are still coming in, surprisingly.
That's right. Yes,
Yeah.
I was looking at figures only yesterday, and the number of people coming into Dubai and staying in Dubai is still more than half. So, we normally see a switch towards transfer traffic once the summer exodus has happened from DXB, but actually people are still arriving in huge numbers and obviously want to experience the city.
Some Europeans still enjoying the beach.
Indeed, absolutely. Just be careful out there in the sun.
Definitely.
It's a lot hotter than most Europeans will have experienced if they haven't been here before.
Definitely. So despite all of the efforts and the thinking and having the customer at heart, people do still like to complain about airports. I'm sure you get your fair share. What's one thing you'd like passengers to know that goes into the thinking behind the scenes that they might not be aware of? Something that makes our journey much smoother that we don't maybe appreciate or take into account?
Well, one of the things we've done at DXB, we've introduced a program called One DXB. the thing about being an airport manager is you're accountable for everything. If something goes wrong at the airport, I'm the person they have in their mind. It's the boss of the airport who's responsible for everything. So if they have a bad meal, or the coffee isn't quite warm enough, or something happens with their bag, it's always down to me. Now, it may not actually be my responsibility, but I never say nothing to do with me. You just accept that accountability for everything. The actual ability we have to have a great control influence over all of the aspects of the airport is actually relatively small. So it's vital that we develop excellent relationships with all of the partners that make the airport journey so smooth. Mm-hmm. So whether it's police, immigration, customs, the airlines, the taxi people, everyone involved in transportation or hospitality, there's a massive number of relationships that have to be in good shape to make the entire experience a seamless one. And we've taken that one step beyond. We've actually created a training program for everyone at the airports that we put everyone through, and it's called 1DXB, and it's designed to give people a real flavor of what great customer experience is. And we've got various ways of showcasing this. We've got videos, training courses. We have people come and talk about human psychology and how, different people have different needs, different age demographics, different purposes of travel, create a whole plethora of different requirements from our customers, and trying to get everyone to understand exactly how complex and different everyone's needs may be and how to respond in a number of different scenarios is incredibly important.
So, sorry to interrupt, but who is taking part in this program, for instance, that we wouldn't expect? Police, vendors, aside from your own staff?
It will be all of the customer service staff. It will be all the retail staff. It will be all of the police. It will be all of the customs employees, all of the immigration employees, all of the airline employees, all of the customer service employees working for the ground handler and the lounge services. Every single person that faces a customer at DXB goes through this program. And we recognize great performance from all of the different stakeholders. Once a year, we have our chairman awards, and Sheikh Ahmed bin Saeed Al Maktoum, my chairman, will come along and he'll present everyone with a token of, excellent service and cite all sorts of different things. It doesn't have to be anything major, just something that's made a difference to the lives of our customers. And in some cases, it may even be saving the lives of our customers. Because if you've got 93 million people going through, you're going to have some people that may have some medical issues that we have to attend to. So we've got clinics within the airports, we've got emergency services, we've got ambulance people, we've got all sorts of things that are always on standby. So if there's an emergency, we are on hand to help and to care.
How often is there a medical incident? If you can kind of give an average.
Well, I think given the numbers, probably quite often there will be a medical issue each week. That we've saved several lives at the airports, and we've got defibrillator machines in quite a lot of the terminal spaces. So and we keep the training up so people are very current on how to administer things and just literally save people's lives.
So our audience, most of our audience, will definitely be traveling this summer from DXB. And since we have you here, the boss of DXB, maybe you can give us some pro tips, some travel hacks that we can give our audience.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing is always check with your airline before you leave home to make sure your flight is operating on time. And also leave plenty of time. The worst thing about a journey is to arrive when you're really on the edge. So trying to get through quickly. We obviously pride ourselves on the time or the little amount of time it takes to get from curbside through to the aircraft, but allowing yourself a bit more time just to have a leisurely journey and to take in all of the different entertainment options we have.
Is there a really good too much time? Is there such a thing as spending too much time at the airport?
I don't think so. But
so what's a good amount?
Well, it's certainly no shorter than 90 minutes. That's, I think, the absolute minimum time. But I think if everyone comes between, 2 hours and 2.5 hours before, that's probably the optimal time. We'll give, plenty of time to get through, and especially if you're traveling with a family, and make sure you check that you've got all your documentation with you. I mean, there are various services where you can check in at home. You can actually have your luggage collected from home. There's various providers that provide that service. There's all sorts of VIP services. You can go through a sort of private terminal experience at DXB. And let's not forget DWC, of course, which has, although its number of services is relatively low, it's growing all the time. And that has a range of different services as well. So our 2-airport city has, I think, a real focus on the customer experience. And there's something to fit everyone's particular requirements.
We're talking about hidden gems, anything that maybe doesn't come to mind or that our audience, passengers aren't aware of, something that is open to all?
Well, I think the thing is that the great amount of retail offers we have are just enormous. And I think there's some really good things. We've got a very good renewable clothing outlet called Pangaea that specializes on selling clothing that is made completely from recycled materials. So those that are very sensitive to the environment, there's something for everyone there. We've got one of the great British brands, Fortnum & Mason there, which sells an amazing amount of different teas and coffee, and that's a really great brand that we've got. We've got one of the world's busiest Lego stores. We've got a Five Guys franchise. We've got, I think, the 3rd busiest McDonald's in the world in the terminal. So literally, there's something for everyone there.
The terminal is designed for us to shop. It's very appealing, and because things are smooth and you usually get in, you'll usually have enough time to enjoy the shopping experience. I'm curious, where do people spend most of their money at the airport?
Well, it's very interesting, actually, because it does vary by the type of people that go through. Those that are in a hurry and travel frequently don't tend to spend much. And of course, a lot of the higher end passengers have lounge facilities that they can go and relax in. And of course, when they're in the lounge, they're not spending money in the retail areas. But the interesting thing is, I think that the offer that we have really transcends all the different requirements. So if you're traveling with children, there's the Candylicious sweet store, there are various places. And the science of retail in airports is really, really interesting, because you've got to get the right mix between the passenger circulation space. Because if you're walking through a crowd, you don't even see what's around you. You're just concentrating on avoiding bumping into others. So what we've done is we've worked out quite carefully in every area of the airport how much seating we need so people can, find a nice place to sit and relax, and where the retail needs to be. And for example, the adjacency of bars and retail is very important. So you could get someone enjoying a drink at a bar, and then just across the way, they will see circulating on a turntable a nice diamond watch or something. And then hopefully the idea of a bit of dwell time while you're sitting comfortably and a bit of retail in your view will stimulate a bit of interest in the various retail offers. So it's quite a science, really, getting all of those elements of customer service, seating, circulation space, dwell space, restaurants, bars, retail, all appropriately located. And this is where AI is going to make a huge difference in the future, because what we'll be able to do is tailor the retail and the food and beverage environment around different passenger types. Because what we're doing is capturing data mostly around destination and nationality about what the preferences are for people going to different places. Hopefully we can put the retail elements in a certain zone and then put the flights to the destinations that favor that type of retail in the same place. There's huge amounts that we're going to be able to do with AI in the future. And one of the things, for example, is to create much greater efficiency. I mean, if you can imagine, aircraft which can cost upwards of $400 million a piece, when they're not flying, they're not earning any money at all. So, for example, we're introducing new technology, which is video analytics, which is actually going to look at what happens during the course of an aircraft turnaround. So an aircraft arrives on the runway, it taxis to a particular stand, it stops at the stand, people get off, the fuel truck comes in to refuel the aeroplane, the truck comes in to take all the rubbish off, the catering truck arrives, the servicing truck arrives, it all happens in a sort of sequence. And if we can make that sequence even more slick, we can shorten the turnaround times of aircraft, get them flying again, and hopefully increase their efficiency. And of course, it's a bit like what's happened in Formula One racing. The pit stops used to take upwards of 45, 48 seconds, something like that. But by relentlessly studying and re-engineering all the aspects of a racing car pit stop, they've reduced that now to below 3 seconds. Obviously, we can't expect to achieve the same reduction in aircraft turn times, but if we could actually reliably turn aircraft round in a shorter time, we can increase on-time performance, we can increase aircraft utilization, and we can provide far more reliability to the flight schedules so that everyone can get away on time as expected. Because that's so important for flow through the airports, because capacity is a function of space and flow rate. And if you can actually increase the flow rate to double what it is today, you can put double the number of people through in the same space, which is great for capacity. And of course, it's much, much cheaper to increase the flow rate through technology than it is to build additional infrastructure.
Which you're doing.
Indeed, we're doing that exactly.
But what you're saying is the efficiency of the turnaround of aircraft, which of course is much more challenging with the larger Airbuses, would allow for the capacity to increase significantly.
Exactly. If you can make use of the assets that you've got in a far more effective and efficient way, you can actually achieve much greater levels of utilization.
How much more efficient do you think it can be?
Well, I think we could get to about 115 million on our current infrastructure. We've had no infrastructure delivered in the last 10 years, but we've actually increased the flow rate through the airport by 20%. We've increased the number of people by 20%, passengers, that is, guests that are going through the airport. And of course, the technology that we've introduced will enable us to further increase that flow rate. So without any significant deliveries of new infrastructure, we can continue to grow the capacity and continue to provide new cities, new services, higher capacity, higher reliability, better on-time performance. All of those are obviously good passenger metrics, pretty good commercial metrics, and very good operational ones as well.
And looking back again at retail, is there any spending or shopping behaviors that have surprised you? Because there are certain habits, I can speak of myself, that I have when going to airports. There are certain foods I'll eat at airports, and certain things I'll want to buy. What can you share? Something that's maybe bizarre or...
Well, I think the major trend now is that people are using the airport not necessarily as a place to buy something that is cheaper than it is in the high street, because actually a travel retail, as it's now known, is no longer tax-free. The concept of duty-free doesn't really exist now. But I think the thing is that everyone that goes through an airport that's a potential spender in a retail outlet is usually someone that perhaps wouldn't spend time in a shopping mall. So they may be time poor and cash rich. They wouldn't go to a shopping mall, but they're obviously going to be at the airport if they're traveling. So what we're trying to do is evolve the entire retail experience more around the opportunities to see, touch, and feel a product that maybe they will then order, and that may be then delivered outside of the airport environment. But it's very important. The trend towards high-end luxury retail is really quite significant. And I think customers are looking for those high-end goods that they would ordinarily have to go to a shopping mall to find. But if they're available at the airport and they can actually see, feel, and touch them, that's a very good opportunity for retailers to really present their product in the best possible way.
And very much competing with the big malls and outlets here with the newest merchandise, they're really keeping up to speed with what you can buy within the airport.
Absolutely right. And remember, about half of the customers that we have in our airport don't actually come into the city. So we've got a huge opportunity. As I mentioned, that 289,000 we had a couple of weeks ago, that's actually a huge opportunity for us to showcase the latest retail products and to get that product in front of an audience that's hardly precedented anywhere in the world.
We have, we're ending with some rapid fire questions. So
Sure.
quick questions and answers. One thing you do every morning without fail?
Swim 600 meters in my pool.
A travel habit you have?
Always travel light. Make sure you've got duplicates of everything wherever you go.
Busiest day and time at the airport?
So far, June the 12th, 289,000 people.
Is there a day of the week that's usually
That was
busier?
a Saturday. And of course, it was a Saturday after all the schools broke up and everyone was taking off for the holidays.
Most common passenger complaint?
Most common passenger complaint, I think, is probably, can we have a bit more seating in one of our terminals that is slightly outgrown itself?
Ultimate passenger mistake?
Getting to the airport too late.
Most popular destination out of Dubai?
Is London Heathrow.
Your favorite airport other than DXB?
I have to say Singapore. They do a really good job.
What's your favorite destination outside of DXB?
Favorite destination, I would say, is probably somewhere like Phuket in Thailand.
And if you could add one feature to DXB tomorrow, what would it be?
A cinema.
Well, apparently anything can be done. So.
Absolutely right. The only problem with the cinema is that I get so wrapped up in films, I wouldn't want to leave before the end. And unfortunately, my plane may have left before the end. That's the problem.
Right. So there might be a bit of a conflict of interest.
Could be a conflict of interest, true.
Well, Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure. We really don't often get to hear from the person who's managing things behind the scenes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been an absolute delight. Thank you.
Thank you.